As Birds of Prey has struggled to find its footing in the box office, and maybe that's an understatement, the movie was supposed to make somewhere between 40 and $50 million. After some good reviews, there was a lot of hope that the film would make more than that. Unfortunately, it came in the low 30s, and now people are scrambling around for why. Well, one of the reasons they've landed on is Ewan McGregor. What? Hey everybody, this is Perch. I'm fascinated. I mean, maybe it's a hobby of mine. I'm always fascinated to kind of dig into the nuts and bolts of movies or comics or shows, and really try and figure out, what went wrong when bad things happen. There's always there's hits and there's duds. The hits are a little easier to kind of understand of what happened. I mean, right place, right time. Something like Deadpool. People were a little tired of the almost too glossy, too pretty superhero films, overproduced superhero films. Deadpool felt grittier. He was using swears. There was some violence. It was things that people haven't seen before. So there's like kind of a lot of pent up kind of desire to see this kind of film. So it's easy to kind of understand why Deadpool worked. When films don't work or comics don't work, it's a little bit more interesting because there tends to be a lot of finger pointing. There tends to be a lot of kind of reasons given that are allowed to kind of protect the overall movie franchise. Like, oh well, a lot of people. The thing I've heard lately about Birds of Prey is like, well, a lot of people wanted to stay home and watch the Oscars. So they, I'm like, no, 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 that is not the case. The Oscars comes on late Sunday night. The box office returns were well in, and you are out of your mind if you think that the people watching the Oscars is going to take away ticket sales in the theater. That's a crazy reason, but still, those are the kinds of things that happen. But one of the things that the comic book community is blaming on this is Ewan McGregor, and more specifically, they're blaming comments he made that seem to point the finger at comic book male comic book fans. That it kind of hooking off of the Brie Larson comments when she was. For Captain Marvel, when she talked about men not allowed at the press briefing, and it's about time that women are fierce, and kind of these kinds of comments that Brie Larson made. They got a lot of traffic online. People predicting that the film was going to completely implode. It was going to do terrible. Of course, the film did not. Made over $1 billion, which then prompted people to say that Disney was secretly buying tickets. Anyway, the point here is that much in that same vein, Ewan McGregor went on Good Morning America and made some pretty, in my mind, pretty innocuous comments, but suddenly it's those comments that are resulting in the movie bombing. To Here's kind of the point I'm trying to make here today with this video this morning is that uh, I think that you see a lot of blogs, you see a lot of videos, you see a lot of people doing comments on things people say, and they add their own touch to them. They add their own commentary around whatever the topic they're talking about, like I am doing right here and now. One of the things I urge people to do always is go back and either read the black and white text that was made, or go and just watch the original comments for yourself. It's always good to just wipe out all the commentary because it's very easy to get a telephone game like effect where you never heard the original source. You've heard everybody's reactions to that original source, and the reactions start to change the whole taste of what was originally said. And I think this is happening with McGregor. So to put in perspective, Ewan McGregor is on Good Morning America and middle of the week, and he's trying to be out there to promote Harley Quinn, or sorry, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn. Well, Harley Cotta. It's too long of a title. That, by the way, is far more, I think, the reason why it struggled is that title. But anyway, he's there, and he's designed to promote the film. They had Margot Robbie and the other female main cast members on the show the day before, and it's kind of like Birds of Prey press tour going on. McGregor is playing the bad guy, Black Mask, and what's interesting about the interview is he gives roughly a minute and a half to Birds of Prey, and then they go on to talk about probably what more people are interested in, which is Obi-Wan Kenobi and Star Wars and other things. So he gives about 90 seconds, maybe a little bit more, to Birds of Prey, and what he says is pretty much what feels like either studio produced material or the most um, expected thing that anyone could say about this movie. That's the crazy part. First off, the announcer talks about, hey, what does it feel like to be part of an all female superhero movie? And this is something that, for the last 2 years, we've heard, hey, it'd be nice if the Avengers could have that. In Endgame, we got the moment where all the female superheroes got together and posed, and so this is something that is on people's minds. And the fact that the Margot Robbie and the other cast members had been on the day before. So the announcer says, "What does it feel like to be in this female movie?" And Ewan McGregor says, "It's about time for a female-driven superhero movie. I was proud to be a part of that." But don't take my word for it. Here's what he actually said.
Birds of Prey is the first all-female superhero movie.
Yeah.
And we had Margot Robbie here. We had the rest of the cast here yesterday. They are fierce.
Yes.
Well, how did you keep up with them on set?
I just had such a great time. I mean, it's just about time, It's a female-driven superhero movie. Look, there's Mary out there. I can see her out the window. Yeah. And it's directed by a lady and written by a lady and produced by a lady. And it's just about time, And I was I was sort of proud to be part of that.
He's got an accent there. Anyway, but that's what he said. So first off, you take that comment. He's there to promote the movie. It's easy to walk in and project on top of that kind of your feelings about, I've heard enough about, the people trying to cram female superheroes down the throats of fans. So I'm sick of these kinds of comments. It's fair to be sick of these kinds of comments, but if you can, kind of forget the emotion behind it and just note he's saying, what would you say? If somebody asked you this, what would you say? You're there to promote the film. Or are you supposed to say, what this film really could have needed? I mean, I'm okay. It was an okay movie, but it needed more dudes. There was not enough dudes in this film. Like, where's Batman? Why wasn't Batman in this movie? No, you wouldn't say that. That would be very stupid. But anyway, so then a little bit of time goes by. They show a clip. They talk about, you're playing a very, very, one of the most dangerous villains of all time. I don't know about that. But again, in hype mode, whether it's books, movies, TV shows, comics, anything, just like, this event will change the course of all human history. That's kind of what's going on here. And so they talk about how terrible his villain is and how he really hates Harley Quinn. And so they play a short little clip, which is not a very inspiring clip. I mean, it's like, the villain's kind of threatening Harley Quinn. And it's supposed to be dripping with menace and other things. But it just, at this point, it comes off of, I mean, I don't know, you get the feeling like Jeffrey Epstein probably said worse things, to women in the years before he was murdered. You just kind of get that feeling. Anyway, so they play this little clip, and the announcer jokingly says, "Oh, I'm going to scoot my chair a little further away from you." Again, this is Good Morning America. This is not the place for hard-hitting, hard-boiled news and information. And so McGregor goes on to talk a little bit about his character and a little bit about misogyny in general. And here's the part where his comments, he's got kind of not much to say. It's about a 20-second, 30 seconds max of comments on just, how do I hype up this villain? And the way he's choosing to do it is to say, kind of hook onto the Me Too movement and some of the comments about misogyny of like this character is very demeaning toward women. It's a female-led movie, so of course the villain is going to be demeaning toward women. I mean, what a weird movie it would be if Black Mask was like, "Hey, I'm gonna take over the Gotham underworld, and I'm mean, and I'm gonna kill all you, but I do respect you as individuals, and I know that superheroes. I'm very proud that you're doing everything a man can do, but I'm still gonna kill you for the cocaine." I mean, that would be very strange. You expect the villain to make sexist, crazy comments because he's the villain. That's kind of the point. And he's gonna, if it was a man there, if you suddenly took Margot Robbie out of the chair and Bruce Willis is there and he's insulting him, he might call him, a loser. He might call. I mean, he might call him a little boy. Who knows what he'd call him? But it would be the same kind of general tone. There's very little here that is making a powerful statement on sexism or any of that. And that's kind of the joke of this movie and this scene is that people are like, they're trying to insert meaning into a scene that's pretty much just a villain saying villain things. But anyway, here's that clip where he talks about misogyny.
He comes from a very rich family. He's sort of been thrown out of the family, and he's trying to prove himself to his father, and he's full of rage, and he's a misogynist. The film deals with misogyny in a very extreme way, like I'm trying to kill her, and there's a scene where I humiliate a woman in a bar, which is horrible. But also there's, I call her silly little girl, and the film is peppered with that sort of everyday misogyny that women have to put up with from us, and it's a good message to put out there to remind guys that those days are over,
Those days are over, no doubt.
All right, that's it. Again, that's a strong accent. I know this about Ewan McGregor, but I'm always surprised when he's not doing his character. It's like, oh, he got a big accent there. Anyway, that was what he said. So on the surface, you've heard the whole interview. Now, here's what you might not know. If you go and you search on, the terms he gave in the interview and Ewan McGregor and everything else, what do you discover? Well, you'll discover over 2,000 articles, and that's using basic search terms, talking about that interview. Now, these articles are not, angry at Ewan McGregor. These articles are, Ewan McGregor is pointing out the hypocrisy of misogyny and how terrible it is, and he's sticking. We're getting a feminist film. Do you notice some things in that clip that Ewan McGregor didn't say? It's all of the extra baggage that these writers and these people put on it, but it doesn't matter. He's now basically taking a stand against all men and misogyny, and he's telling male comic book fans not to come to the movie. Oh, he didn't do that? Oh, how weird. I mean, because I could swear, according to Bleeding Cool and the Mary Sue and Vice and these other sites, that Ewan McGregor actually in that interview said that it was time for all male superheroes to die. It's the women's turn. The future is female, and male comic book fans are not allowed. That's what I think that's. Wait a minute. Maybe let me go back and listen. Nope, no, he didn't say that. That's weird. That's very weird, isn't it? Because I could swear he said that. Because not only did all those articles get written talking about things that Ewan McGregor frankly didn't say, or taking pretty basic comments that frankly I think almost anyone, including most of the people listening to this video, would also say in that same situation. Again, you're there to promote a movie. You are the villain. You're the villain who's saying little like, hey, little girl, haha. What are you going to say in that interview? You're going to say pretty much what he said. The Me Too movement is big. You've got it. What exactly are you going to do? I mean, look, the people at Good Morning America are just trying not to be Matt Lauer. That's pretty much all they're trying to do. And yet you had thousands, with the T, thousands of articles being written in support of Ewan McGregor saying things that really wasn't what he said or wasn't really getting onto, amplifying this message to, frankly, be annoying. And then you had thousands of videos and blog articles and news things talking about how, look at this, the studio's trying to take it to men again. They're trying to tell comic book fans. You had both sides of the coin leap into action and turn this little thing into a culture war. Where, go back and listen to the clip again. You can rewind it. I can play it again now. There was no there. There was nothing there. His comments were benign. Now, in our super heightened, pissed off state that we're all perpetually living in, you might still be mad. You might have listened to those comments and like, yeah, he is being a jerk. But try and take a deep breath, sit back, put yourself in the situation, and you come to recognize there's nothing there. It's a nonsense breezy statement on a nonsense breezy show. The fact that we're all getting amped up, getting pissed off about these things is an indication that stuff's gone too far. That's our problem. And, I go back and I look at this stuff and I think to myself, why do we all keep falling for it? Why is it that we hear comments like this, we read articles, we have this, on both sides? Why do we keep falling for it? Because you go on Twitter, you'll see lots of people defending the movie and talking about how the male sexist toxic fans tried to tank it. And then you'll see other people saying, I'm tired of the male fans getting pissed on and constantly getting attacked. Go back to the source. Listen to what McGregor says. Why are we all falling for this game of, who attacked who? There's what he said, and frankly, what the movie is. I've seen the movie. There's nothing to it. It's a benign action movie. There's some parts of it that look pretty. Otherwise, it's just kind of there. It's just an action movie. Some stuff happens. There are worse films. Catwoman, far, far, far worse. I would say Thor, Thor number one, probably worse. I don't know. Thor number one. Thor number one has some magic for being, the first movie or something. But a better way to put this. I mean, maybe I'll go. No, I'm not going to go edit that out. You know what? I take it back. There's been, put it this way. I guess my point is, there's been worse Marvel movies. Many. There's been worse DC movies. The problem with Birds of Prey is that it's actually mostly other movies. It's taken a piece of Deadpool. It's taken a piece from just kind of an Ocean's movie. It's taking a piece of all these other films, and it's just kind of mashing them together to produce what we see. That's kind of its biggest problem. Is it's not new. It's not taking it to misogyny. It might be better if it was. But it's striking to me how, as we try and lean into what caused this movie to fail. One of the things I think caused this movie to fail is that people unattached to the movie, meaning not the actor, not the studio, nothing. People unattached to this movie created a new story around what this movie was, what it was trying to prove, its nature. And they made the conversation about that. There were other things we could have talked about in regards to this movie, positively, negatively. There are lots of other things, but instead, a lot of the conversation was it's a feminist superhero movie that takes it to misogyny, mainly born out of that clip I just shared. That one piece created all of this noise, which now we can see did not translate to box office numbers. And the crazy part, if you're an actor or a studio executive or producer or somebody who's making a movie or a comic or a book, is all this happened without you. All this happened by, in theory, well-meaning people. The Bleeding Cools, the Mary Sues, they wrote these articles, I guess, trying to hype your movie. I mean, let's be honest, they wrote it to get clicks for themselves. Nobody at Mary Sue is sitting there going, "Damn, did we accidentally make so much noise that we hurt this movie?" No, they're off to the net. They're like, "Oh, what can we say about Black Widow? Let's go." That's where their heads are at. These entities are creating things in these movies that are detrimental to the property. And if you're a studio, that's got to kind of terrify you because you have no control over it. These are people out there writing articles, doing videos, making blogs, basically telling other people what your movie is in greater numbers, faster, quicker, that you have no control over. And if they get too loud, too noisy, too obnoxious, too negative about your film, suddenly they're running your marketing, not you. And you're just along for the ride. And if you're somebody making a comic or making a movie, that's got to terrify you. Because as we're seeing here, I put a lot of the blame of why people tuned out on the fact that, after Weinstein and Epstein and all these other Me Too, and after all this kind of nasty horror stuff, because the majority of people out there, the vast majority of people out there, turns out they don't like Harvey Weinstein. They don't like misogyny. They don't like people being sexist. They don't like any of these things. But they don't want to be reminded of it every second of every day. And when you do that, they search for other entertainment, not the Oscars, but other entertainment where they can avoid that. And so if you're a studio and you make a movie and you're kind of doing a by the book, paint by numbers film, and this is the result, yikes. You've got a major problem on your hands because you've got people actively getting people, shooing people away from your film, your comic, your show, and nothing you can do about it. That's tough. And I think that's going to continue to ripple throughout entertainment. How do you handle people, basically telling others what your movie's about, taking little comments like this and blowing them up and hurting you? It's something. It's interesting to think about. I don't know. Let me know your comments below. Maybe I've got this all wrong. Maybe and like I said, there may be other comments. I'm sure there are other comments out there. But this one Ewan McGregor moment took on a complete life of its own, and now you've heard it. And what do you think? I don't think I care, but maybe you do. I'd like to hear in the comments below what you think about all this. It's an interesting thing to ponder. And how do you prevent this? Like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at Comic Perch. Very interesting in your thoughts. This is an interesting moment that we're living in right now. Thanks for listening.